Welcome to That's What We Think with Connie and Steve. Hi, Steve. How are you? I know I always cut you off
Oh,
because you're
no, it's
wanting
not
to
even
talk more.
no, it's not even just cut off, it's just I'm not paying attention. Surprise that I'm not checking to see when the countdown's happening, so I'm starting to talk to you before I even notice. Anyways, that goes to show how excited I am to see my friend. Hello, my friend.
Exactly.
Hello.
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 How
So
have you
before we
been?
started, I'm good.
That's
We
good.
were just talking about whether or not we were gonna continue on with we were gonna wear our glasses anymore or take them
And I
off,
am
and
wearing a new pair, or
she
not a new
is,
pair, but a different pair. It's
not
cat
me.
eye shape.
I sincerely hate these glasses, and I cannot wait to get rid of them and get a new pair. I
I like
hate
them
them.
on you. I think they look so great
Do you know what's interesting is that the problem is that because of my nose and being black, the glasses don't fit on they don't
on the
fit properly.
bridge.
And so now I'm looking for more specialized glasses that fit a black nose.
Yeah.
And because these slide off and they're not I got them online and I think that was a big mistake because
Mm.
ultimately I just wanted to check and see if the system worked and it's not as
Yeah.
good as I thought. So
Yeah.
now I'm
I
gonna
do
try.
know people who have done that.
Me too, and it's worked, but
Yeah.
again, white face is black face. It's very
Yes,
good and
it's
very
different.
different. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, I need more specialized glasses, but
Mine do kinda slide down my Italian nose, but,
but you were
what
singing
are you
about
gonna do?
Evelyn as
Oh,
she's
yeah,
gonna get
so I booked our optometrist appointments,
right.
because it's that time of year again, and Evelyn was getting fixed for her contacts, because she needed contacts before her appointment came up. They do the whole little test and everything with her back up against the wall reading
The
the
eye chart?
eye chart,
Yeah.
and I'm standing beside her trying to read the eye chart, and I'm like, "Oh, I actually can't see far anymore either." So I can't see close, I can't see far, so you know what that
She's
means.
legally blind. No, I don't know.
It means that I'm gonna need, like, old people glasses with
Yeah,
the
that's
you
what I
know
have. That's what I
yeah.
have. Look, I actually had thought about getting contacts,
Mm.
but just the thought of having to put my finger in my eye, plus the fact that I'm lost a digit here to use that finger to put it in my eye would make me blind.
Yeah.
But, I actually was even thinking about, the laser surgery,
Laser surgery?
and I gotta tell you, I think it's great for people, but I think I would be the 1 in 5 people that there
Oh,
would
to have a
be.
problem because it
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
So,
So I think I'll just stick with it.
as
Yeah.
far as Emily and Jack, Emily has no desire because she is afraid of the just in case.
Yeah, me too.
And Jack is all raring to go. He can't wait until he has the benefits that
Lucky
will help
him.
him pay for it.
Yeah,
So,
that's good. Good for him. Like, honestly, I shout out to people that do it. I gotta tell you, I've been under the knife way too much.
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
yeah,
it's under the laser.
fair enough. Laser or knife, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I've had enough.
Yeah.
I think
No,
I'm just
I
gonna take a
understand.
moratorium.
I
Yeah.
brought my sister when she had it done years ago. I brought her to the clinic. However, she's wearing glasses now to read because it
It
lasts, but it only lasts a certain amount of time. Most
really?
of my family
Wow.
is very, very visual I don't wanna say visually impaired, but visually
Challenged. Yeah.
challenged. My sister, my brother both need glasses. My mom has always needed glasses. It was my dad and I that my dad didn't need glasses until he was older. I didn't need glasses until I was older, but my kids, of course, take after David and the rest of my family. The only one that isn't is Abby, and the
She's a
rest of them
youngster.
are she's still young. So
Yeah.
that's what
I
I
gotta
said
say,
because she brags about it all the time. Because I used to brag about it too. I'm like,
mm.
"I can see everything." And then, of course, I turned what? I think it was 48 was when I started to notice that,
Really? Lucky
something
you.
is yeah, I was late, and I went to the eye doctor and I said, "Something's wrong with my eyes. I'm not seeing the way I normally do." So they checked my eyes, obviously, and they said, "Well, we have good news and we have bad news. The good news is you used to have superhuman eyesight, better than 20/20,
You could see
and
through
now
walls.
and now you have
Sorry.
20/20." And I was like, "This is what regular eyesight is like? Are you kidding me?" And then it slowly started to degrade more and more
Yeah,
to the and I think possibly being on a computer all the time and
doesn't
reading all the
help.
time and all
And the
that,
phone,
it's
yep.
and the phone, I think it just contributes to
I will say one thing just about glasses and in general is like I really defy anybody out there that's over the age of 50 that doesn't need glasses. If you don't, congratulations,
I
well
know.
done. I don't know who you are, but I'm applauding you. Congratulations,
Yeah.
because
There is
I'll tell you.
a way of getting your eyesight fixed, though, at an older age. If you end up with cataracts
Yeah,
and they do the cataract surgery,
yeah,
you walk out not needing glasses anymore
really?
because they fix it. They fix your eyesight
I
along
believe it.
with
I
the
believe,
cataracts. And when you're going through menopause and you're wearing glasses with the hot flash, it
yeah.
just makes it so much hotter. It's holding in the heat on your face that is, like, radiating, and it pisses you off so much more.
Wow. All these you talked about that in that disturbing episode we did last time about menopause. So the more you know, everybody, the more you know.
Yes.
But Con, what do you have? Because that on your list of that was then, this is now, besides eyeglasses and menopause, what else do you have?
Well, actually, before we start talking about that, I want
Yes.
to discuss something that has changed, and it is a bit of a that was then and this is now.
Okay.
Again, this is not in Canada, it is in the States,
Okay.
but they have rescinded
Oh, yes.
the,
Voters Act,
the Voters'
1965.
Right Act of
That's right.
1965
Mhm,
has been rescinded.
mhm.
It is taking the rights of so many people away, of so many Black people
Not
away.
just
It's
minorities, like,
of
it's
minorities, yes,
yeah,
and, I
but
mean, I
the
heard
skew
somebody
towards black,
say
yes?
yes, I did hear a Black creator say that if you think that this is not going to come after the women in your voting rights, you're mistaken.
We're the first. I guarantee you, I guarantee that this is not the last. The
No.
women are next. Uh, gay rights is next. It is. This has been discussed before, but people didn't want to
Yeah.
believe it, and now it's here. And I went to Memphis about 10 years, 11, 12 years ago, and went to the museum, the Civil Rights Museum in
Mm,
Memphis, and it has left we've talked about this before, how it's left a mark because of the struggles that African Americans have had to go through just to get the right to be equal and
yeah,
to get the vote. And it was bloody and people died for that. And for with the stroke of a pen, the act had been chipped away for years and years. Like this isn't just a out of the blue thing. They have been chipping, the Republicans have been chipping away at that and chipping away and chipping away. And they
and now they've
finally got what they
completely
wanted. Yeah.
yeah,
They finally got it. They got what they wanted. They want to go back to Jim Crow. They're there.
yeah,
And when I think of the struggle of that museum, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble trying to get the words out of just how impactful it was to see exhibits and video and audio. It's horrendous. It is
I can
so,
imagine.
so awful what African Americans had to go through in order to get this vote. And
The number
now
of people that died
it's
for this
again,
vote.
there's so many museums in the world that I recommend people obviously
Yeah,
look at. Civil Rights Museum, the Holocaust museums. I know they're difficult. I
yeah,
get it. It's very hard. But for the love of God, you need to see the struggles that people go through in order to be treated as humans.
yeah,
And I don't know. I'm hoping that my prayer, of course, is that there will be enough of a turnout come November. If there is even an election, I'm hoping that that happens still. Who knows?
I
But
know.
for the states, but Americans, you need to turn out for this. You really, really, really,
Yeah.
really do.
So
Like,
I
no
was
question
listening to a
to overturn
creator,
that.
a Black creator,
Yeah.
talking about how this upset her.
Mhm.
And she was talking to her aunt. I don't remember her name, but she was talking to her aunt, and her aunt had said, back in the day, after the civil rights movement, after desegregation happened
Mhm.
in the South, that you would think, as white people, we think that everything just went and it was all good. Everyone was equal. And this creator said even for herself, she was thinking that, oh, it's things were way better than what they were. And they were to a degree. There were white stores that now Black people could go into. There were department stores that they could go into and buy clothes that
Mhm.
they wouldn't have been able to before. But the problem was they weren't allowed to try the clothes on
Mm,
in any of the stores. Were you allowed to try the clothes on
mm.
because the store owners and shopkeepers deemed Black people, it's terrible, but as dirty.
Dirty.
And so they didn't want the clothes to be dirty because
Yeah,
they couldn't resell them if a Black person tried those clothes on. So you had to go in knowing exactly the size that you needed because even if you bought them, brought them home, and it didn't fit, you had to make do because you weren't allowed to return it.
right.
And so supposedly, Sears, when Sears came in, it stopped that,
That
and
Paul.
people were able to
Try on
try
clothes.
on clothes regardless of the color of their skin.
Right.
So that's what gained the popularity of Sears. To me, that video, that woman talking about how things were was an education for me
Yeah.
because I had no clue.
Connie,
Obviously, as a white person, I had no clue. People would even think like that. I mean, it's trying on clothes.
my parents are from the Caribbean,
Mhm.
and the Caribbean and African cultures are separate from what went on in the United States. Was United States American African Americans. The history is shared in the sense of slavery in certain other countries, but the sheer level of atrocities that occurred in the United States and remained
Mhm.
um, is a level that it's still not quite discussed because the histories aren't shared in that respect. Now, growing up here in Canada, you don't get we wouldn't get as much information as Black people. We would not get as much education as what went on slavery-wise as you would in the States. This is the '70s and '80s. And I
Do you think
think
that they were getting educated though in the States?
I don't know what they were getting.
Yeah.
I can't
Speak
say
to it.
because I wasn't there, but the
Mhm.
more I realize, like, this is where you can do a that was then, this is now scenario when it comes to
Right.
education. And with the advent of the internet, it's given you a wider scope of what happened. Just the stories itself are so awful. I don't think my 8-year-old mind would be able to handle. It already was having enough trouble dealing with Roots when that came out. I
Yes.
couldn't even this just the sheer amount of horrific, barbaric treatment of Black people. I'm still learning about it
Yeah.
because there's a lot to learn, and I have trouble stomaching it because it also is so deeply unbelievable. I mean, the United States, if you can believe this, their system was used as an example for Hitler, if you get him
Yes.
for how to treat quote unquote minorities, which is a shocking. But yet now, as you see what's going on in the States, maybe not as surprising as you think it is.
Yeah.
So that's
Considering it's
again,
still going
right?
on.
You can say that was then, this is now. Back then, I didn't know. And not that I didn't know, I also have a responsibility, of course, to know, but I didn't
Right.
act on it
Well,
until
I
later
think we
on.
all have a
We
responsibility to
do.
know. I think white people absolutely have a
They
responsibility
do.
to know. So then that way you can
Do,
you can
do you think that it's um with white people, I mean, we're not the voices for either
no.
or, where we're just putting out our opinions. This is what we think. But do you think that white people do have a responsibility or are lacking or don't want to know, which is why it's still continuing on?
Well, I think there was a time period when we were growing up
Yes.
that we white people wanted to know, wanted to learn. They were being taught some of it. I don't think everything was being taught, of course. However, I think this is a more recent thing is that we don't want to offend white people
Mm,
for the horrors of their ancestors or of the people of their past.
Mhm.
So this is why we don't need to learn anymore. I've heard that being said by people. Why should we shame white kids now by learning what their ancestors did or people of the past did? It's not their fault. They're not doing it. Their
Right,
parents haven't done it. You know what I mean? Like it's so far removed
right,
that they kind of wanna not teach it anymore or not have their kids learn about it
right.
and afraid that it's gonna offend them or shame them in some way.
As it should, but
And
but
I was shocked by that. I'm like,
right.
"No, we need to be learning all of this stuff." I remember when the girls were learning about Indigenous history in Canada. When Emily was learning about Indigenous history,
Oh,
she
yeah.
was learning the colonizers were
Right,
taught how to farm by the Indigenous people,
right.
and they were taught how to survive the winters,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, did they also tell you that they gave they gave, measles and
Disease,
all this disease and
death,
syphilis and death,
all of
and they
it.
killed them, and then and then they tore them from their families because they tried to take the Indian out of them."
Yeah.
And she was like, "What?" And I
Nah.
said, "Yes, they need to be teaching you everything, not just the nice flowery little history, but also the terrible stuff that the colonizers did to them."
What do they say? How you learn about history is through a winner's eyes. You're never really
Yeah,
you aren't shown the, quote unquote losing side of history.
right.
And when you do realize that our history is rife with tragedy and just pure horror,
Mhm,
I don't know if I mean, we there's a responsibility. I'm not a parent. I always say this every episode. It seems like I always have to repeat myself with this,
mhm.
that I can't speak for parents and what their children are supposed to learn.
Yeah,
And if we like, I mean, I don't think our age group can handle just the sheer amount of what we got wrong with history
yeah,
and what we've learned, which was all they covered some stuff, but it was much lighter, much more tame, I think, in respect
yeah,
to what reality really was, and I think it's done for a reason. But I do think maybe it's up to us as we're older to kind of figure out that that's not quite what it seems. But again, I point to the internet to say, well, you have that chance now. It's
yeah,
out there. And Connie, I mean, I'll just to briefly tell you what I've picked up just from slavery alone. I mean, my hair like mine was used to stuff pillows for and yeah, if for in the South. Like if you ever have seen history shows or anything like that, if they cut open and they see black hair, black, woolly type of material in the pillowcases, that's hair. Black people were skinned alive for furniture and it is way eaten. Black people were eaten. It is beyond what you think.
yeah,
And all of these things, and this is not hyperbole. This is not a joke. This actually did happen, but I can't imagine learning at 6 years old or 7 years old or 10 years old or 12 years old, having to absorb that. And on
yeah,
top of that, if I think back, I was probably one of 3 black faces in classes.
yeah,
And whenever these type of conversations were discussed, it was always very, very, very uncomfortable because people would look at you. It's like, oh,
mhm,
all of a sudden they turn like
yeah,
you were the,
the token,
the example of whatever the history lesson that was being taught about black people in general. And sometimes kids were mean, as kids can be, because kids are stupid, and that's the
yes,
way it is, you know. And it was very, very difficult. And part of me didn't want to learn because it made me feel very othered.
mhm,
Um, Now, of course, you're older and you can handle it, but that's another thing. Like, how do you discuss these type of topics in school without making the subject be about people who happen to be of that color or that background or that that sex, whatever it is, without
right,
causing an issue? I think that's the problem, or that's the issue. I'd love to ask
yeah,
Emily,
yeah.
as a teacher, she should come on
As a
and say,
teacher now. Well, I do actually I know that Emily has mentioned so she is in the Catholic board,
yeah,
and she is in a predominantly immigrant school, a lot of the kids coming from Nigeria, A lot of Black families,
Yeah.
most of them,
Mhm.
actually, uh, yet
From
none of the staff
mm,
is Black. None of the staff are of any other nationality other than,
no
like,
Asian?
white. Pardon?
No one Asian? No Indian? Nothing?
I don't know, maybe now,
Interesting.
but when
Okay.
she started, it was all I mean, there
All
was
white.
Italians,
Right,
but,
which
I
in
mean, we're
itself is a
white.
cultural issue as well,
Right, which is I
right?
know,
Yeah.
but now, I mean, we're white passing, even
Right.
when I tell the kids about what it was like in the '70s for Italians
Italian
or
people.
in the
Or the
'50s for
50s.
Italians.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, completely different
Oh,
than they
yeah.
are now, and they're, like, going, "Oh, please, mom, yes, we're Italian POCs," right? And I said, "But at the time
Yep.
whiteness moves, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Who is allowed within that envelope of whiteness
Yep.
changes with time. Italians weren't allowed in
That's
that
right.
envelope. Jews were considered Asian
Yep.
back in the day,
Irish.
which is kind of weird. Yes, Irish were
Irish too.
black
Like, people are not
back in the
grasping
day.
this.
Yeah, my
Is which is
dad remembered. My dad would always say he remembered when they moved here, there
yeah,
were signs in windows that said no T-shirt, uh, dogs, and Irish, no service.
yeah.
Meaning, like, if you're not wearing a T-shirt, you don't get service. If you have a dog, you don't get service.
Mhm.
And after the dog, if you were Irish, there was no service for you. And my dad, he was a kid and he was like, "This is weird." Like,
Yeah,
but he remembers that distinctly. He would always tell us that there were
yeah.
places in Toronto that had those signs on their window, you know?
It's and the irony of Justice Alito
Yes.
to be the one to spearhead this removal of rights for
Yeah.
another
Well,
culture and
because
another race is
yep,
as in I have not forgotten that part, and I also am very well aware of how, other cultures were treated before they became under the umbrella of
right.
white. Black people could never be under that umbrella.
No,
We will
because you're
always be
visibly
separated. Same
yeah,
with Asians, same with Indian, it
yeah.
is just one of those things. It is fascinating what you said, though, about how the faces haven't changed in the education system. Of course, it depends on where you live. In Toronto, maybe there
Yes.
are more. In Barrie, there isn't.
Yeah.
Maybe it's changing now. It wasn't when I was growing up. I had only white teachers, except for
Mhm.
my mom,
I was just gonna say your
my
aunt
mother, and
your
but
aunt
she wasn't my
was
teacher.
my only
Yeah,
I think in my
my uncle.
entire education system,
Yeah,
your aunt was my only I loved her.
yeah.
Oh my god, I loved Mrs. Wilson so much.
Hey, teaching.
I would just oh, she was just like I think she was my absolute I know she was, my absolute favorite
Uh huh.
in all of elementary school. I just
Yeah.
loved her. There was something about her. She was just so warm and loving, and I don't know.
My uncle also taught in Barrie, and
Oh,
yeah,
really?
he taught in high
In what
school,
school?
Eastview.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then he came over to St. Joe's. He was part of the chaplain, uh, department there, and I never had him as a teacher,
Mhm.
but God bless William Trainer. He used to do, imitations of my uncle singing, and it was the best. It was so funny. But again, like, representation matters, and
It does.
back then, there really wasn't a lot. However, when you compare, um, the way things were going, you started to see more and more of representation on TV in the '70s and '80s. Uh, it felt like things were changing for not just for minorities, but like for
Like
African
every
Americans, Black
yeah,
people, everybody, like everybody that wasn't a white male,
yeah,
it just felt like things were changing, getting better, dare I say it?
yeah,
I don't know if we were living in some sort of, I don't know, rose-colored glasses scenario here, but, when you're watching Sesame Street and when you're watching
yeah.
The Polka Dot Door and then watching in the '80s Cosby Show and everything else, it felt, "Hey, things are getting better," but I don't f
I think with media,
Yeah.
I think it still is way better than what it had been. There is more representation in media as
Yeah.
far as using people of different races, different ethnicities, sexualities. There's a larger inclusion in that, and it's getting better as far as even sexuality, not having it be the issue of the story. It's just there's a gay person among them.
You
You
know,
know, like Schitt's Creek, right? Schitt's
right.
Creek was the groundbreaking on purpose because they were like, "It's not gonna be an issue. It's
Right.
just a matter of fact. Oh, we have a son who likes red wine and white wine, but
But
chooses
but
one."
I will say back then for gay representation, it was terrifying what you would see on TV and in
Right.
movies. Like, my God, the representation was brutal until the '80s when things started to shift a little bit, but the media made gay men in particular out to be predators and murderers and flamboyant, over the top,
Yes.
flowery fools at the expense of everybody else's humor. Like, it was
Yeah.
brutal. And I grew up watching that thinking, "Oh, good lord," which pushes you further into the closet.
Right, because you don't wanna be seen as
You
this.
don't wanna be seen
Absolute.
at
I mean,
all
there
like
are
that.
some gay men who are,
Oh, for sure. Oh,
very
for
over the
sure.
top and flowery, and that's lovely if that's
Yeah,
how they choose and want to be seen and how they
they're the
see
cool ones
themselves.
most of the time. They worked in the industries that people, like fashion and design and all the things that really had an impact on people's
Yeah,
lives, and hair and all the other areas that
yeah,
most straight guys, of course, would run away from. That's fine, fair enough, whatever. But their influence was unmatched, and it was also a threat. But we didn't learn that. Like, you wouldn't know that until later on. Like, I think
mhm,
nowadays, of course, thanks to, again, the internet, you get a wider variety of people. You get to see the impacts. You get to read about that stuff, and it feels better. Still work to do. But
absolutely.
honestly, AIDS, when that in the '80s, oh my lord,
I think
you
I
know,
think that
oh
took
my
that
lord,
made us take a giant leap backwards as
back,
far as acceptance.
huge, huge step
Yes.
back. It
Oh, especially because how
it
AIDS was
terrified me.
talked about, it was, so many people were using it as, "This is God smiting them for,"
Yep,
and using religion as like a
as a
whipping.
that's right. Do you remember the TV shows too? Like, I mean, even I mean, there were attempts in the later '80s to start humanizing the impact of that. But that disease was devastating in the '80s. And
Yeah.
I will add that it also caused such a great deal of confusion and hatred. And like, remember Ryan White? He's a young boy that he had a blood transfusion, which unfortunately he ended up contacting HIV
Because they
contacting.
weren't doing the testing that they needed
That's
to
right.
do
He was a
on
young
their
boy.
donated blood.
The town that he lived in went berserk, and it's heartbreaking. The stories are heartbreaking, and I'm glad to see now, of course, with a great deal of education and awareness, and people knock Madonna, but Madonna was at the forefront of that sort of
Madonna
education,
and Lady Di or
and
Princess Diana
and
as
Princess. Oh
well.
my God, that's right. See,
She was a huge advocate
huge,
for compassion for.
touching, touching them.
Exactly, because, I
Remember?
mean, prior to that,
Yep.
even the nurses and doctors refused to
Refused.
touch anyone.
So you were pushed into wards of the hospital, and we are not at all, um, diluting this how bad it was. It was
Oh,
very, very bad, and I'm glad to see, of course, like, thankfully, things have changed a lot once again, we talk about the education and learning
mhm,
about it, but, it really, for me personally, you know watching that really had such a profound effect on how I viewed being gay, how I wanted to be seen, how I wanted to actually date and think about that part of me, which I
mhm,
denied because didn't want to die. I didn't
right.
want that, and I was afraid. I was so afraid, um, and I didn't have the education or awareness that I do now, obviously, and or
Yeah.
even in my
I don't
30s, but
I
in my
wonder
20s, oof,
if
teens,
I
oh my
know.
god.
Yeah, no, I don't know if what kind of education they are doing for, um
Sex?
for any kind of, like, protective sex other than just to say, like, "Wear a condom," and then
Remember
that's
who we
it.
had? We had Dr.
Uh,
We talked about this. We had
yeah,
Dr. Ruth and Sue Johansson, who
yeah,
any Gen Xer, you will know the minute we say her name. Sue Johansson was a much needed voice in a sea of conservatism. And make no mistake, Connie and I don't shirk away from the fact that our Gen X in our early years in the 70s and 80s, there were fun times, but there were also some really dark moments, and sex was one of them.
yeah,
Parents refused to really just get into that, and we relied on someone like her to break through and
absolutely.
educate us. Because
Yeah.
remember high school? Do you remember what they would do with
Oh,
our
I
sex
know.
education books?
Well, even
They'd
still,
rip out
they
the
do
pages, just so you
not.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
Catholic,
still,
yeah.
though, they don't talk very much about any of it. I know with the girls,
Yep.
it's been the responsibility has been on me, which I have discussed it with
Which is
them.
great.
I've tried to teach them as much as possible. I remember, one of my friends saying that, when the time comes just to get out a book and show them what certain things look like. She goes, "It's the best kind of abstinence education that you can give them. This is what chlamydia looks like. This is what" like, all the different things, but, when it came to AIDS, if you wanna see what it was like back in the '80s,
Yeah.
watch Pose, watch
Oh,
Angels in America.
there's and
See
watch
how
document
people were treated. They were treated like they were pariahs, they were
oh, yeah.
inhumane, but both of those 2 shows Pose is one of my absolute
It's a great show.
I I
It
love it.
is
You will cry in every episode to
I'm
watch
sad
it.
that people just associate it with drag queens. It is so much deeper than that.
Oh,
It
it's
is not
so much more than that.
it is real and well acted and beautiful to watch and
Yeah,
see that this would never have existed in the
yeah,
70s and 80s. There's no way. And if
yeah,
you look back at the 70s and 80s of
and
people
yet it was set
awful,
back then,
right? Oh, yeah.
right? Like, it's set back then to show you what it was like back then and how they were treated back then
I
and
mean,
everything.
come on, can I ask you, when from a that was a this is now perspective, when you were learning about sex, did you ever go to the library and see books or like how, what did you do? I'm just curious. Like where
So
did you
so back in the day
Yes.
back in the day, your father would have a drawer,
Oh,
or underneath his bed would be
right.
these magazines,
Right.
and that was the education. These
That's great. Yeah. It's
fabulous
true.
magazines that had some stories. Because if they had
Yeah.
Forum was, a smaller magazine that had
Forum. Wow, that's old
stories.
school.
I know.
Yeah. That's old
And
school.
then
Wow.
and then you had uncles,
Yep.
or I had uncles
I had
who
uncles.
were younger than my parents, but older than me, obviously, and they had movies.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's right, my cousins.
yeah,
They had
we would
movies.
watch we
One
would
cousin had a
watch
stack of porn under his bed. I spent
yeah,
every time we'd go over there, I'd run away from my family and go down and go through
yeah,
his books.
yeah, and
Tons.
that
That's how
was
you learn.
the education. So when people talk about kids and the internet, making sure that they stay off porn on the internet, our kids are no different than we were
That's
back in the
right.
day.
It's always
It's always going to be
always.
something of interest, and if you don't educate your kids, they're gonna think that that is normal, that that is what sex is like,
Oh,
what
oh
is
my god.
happening on these movies, and that is not what sex is like at all.
We gotta laugh. I'm telling you, again, like, this is why this is such a great topic, because even in the '90s when you again, no internet, so
Yeah,
you have to go to the video store to get videos, and, of course, there'd be the section where there'd be regular videos, and then there'd be the back part
behind a curtain.
behind a curtain, which would have all the X-rated movies, which, of
Yeah,
course, as a young man, I'm very curious. Of course, I wanted to go back there, but you had to be of age. But even if you couldn't, there were so many avenues where you could go and find X-rated videos or magazines. Toronto on Yonge Street had tons of bookstores that had
Yeah,
tons of dirty magazines in them. And of course, you'd find yourself in there. That's me. Well, me. And, just kind of, you wanted to look around and check it out. You could
yeah.
smell the dirtiness of the store. It was gross, but
Oh, yeah, there's a little bit of
it's
shame
shame. It was shame. It
that
shouldn't
was
be,
associated with it, which
right?
is so funny because now I look at my girls and the things that they watch with me. What is the show that Evelyn's watching right now? Evelyn is 19, but
Right.
she's watching Euphoria.
Right. Okay.
A ton of sex, a lot of drug use.
Right.
I do not like watching anything with drug use. It grosses me out.
Okay.
It's worse than a horror movie to me.
Right.
But there's a lot of shows that have a lot of explicit sex on it.
But there's a character on that show, that's
Euphoria?
a
Yes.
trans actor, and I think what's amazing is her her being in a show like this.
Yeah.
There is no way in the '80s or
Oh my
'70s
gosh.
that
Well,
someone
no.
like her would have been put in a positive way in one of those movies without either being beaten up or made fun
Right.
of or a source of ridicule. And
Except it was sometimes. So if you remember Love Boat,
yeah,
there was a character, and I
please don't
don't
say
remember their
madam.
name, but who was the guy that was it Gopher
Like who?
on Love Boat?
Yeah, there was a character named Gopher.
Okay, so
Yeah,
one of Gopher's friends from college,
yeah.
was on the ship, and they were no longer as they
Him.
remembered them in
Mm,
university or college as a male, now they were female,
right,
and they showed Gopher's evolution of confused and kind of upset about what happened,
right,
but then turning into acceptance and love
right.
for the trans character and going, "As long as you're happy." So it was a great episode. What was that, 70s,
80s,
early
70s? Yeah,
80s?
'80s, yeah.
You know?
Fair
So there was
enough.
that. There was also,
All in the Family. All in the
All in the
Family.
Family.
And
All in the Family dealt with so many
I
different
watched that.
cultural moments.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
and
didn't
All
watch
in the
that show.
Family.
I watched that episode that related to having, a character that was a cross-dresser. It
Yeah.
was not a happy ending on that one, but
No,
it was handled quite beautifully for the time it was in.
right,
Um,
and it was handled in a way that was
Sad though.
realistic
Oh, so sad.
for yeah, it was
Yeah,
realistic for Archie's character,
right.
and it's so funny is that there's so many people that think Archie Bunker was, supposed to be that's the way we're supposed to be, but
Honor?
Carol O'Connor
Yeah,
was saying, like, "This is a terrible person."
yeah,
Like, you're not supposed to appreciate him. You're supposed to see his terribleness and not want to be like him. Not
right.
don't glorify Archie Bunker and say, "Oh, we would never do anything like that anymore because, it's making fun of." No, it's making fun of
Of
Archie Bunker,
those type of people.
not
Yeah,
the other way around. The
right.
joke was on Archie Bunker.
Which in itself explains sometimes that the ability for the media or for entertainment to try and send a message, sometimes to the masses, it hasn't
Will make
changed.
their own message.
Exactly. It
Yeah,
hasn't changed from back then to even now,
yeah,
that the density sometimes of people not grasping that they are the ones being made fun of and not the other way around
yeah.
is like there's a TV show right now called The Boys, and it is definitely a commentary about society, about mega, and the people that watching it are mega types, and they're
Oh,
not
yeah.
getting it. They're not understanding that they are making fun of you, mega types. They are making fun of you. You're not getting
I've
it.
never seen it, actually. I know
It's
my sister was telling me to watch it.
okay.
I have not watched it.
It's intense,
There's very
Connie.
few shows that I watch. She did say she goes, "There's some certain things in it that are disgusting,"
Very
you
much
know?
so. Not that you can't handle that. Trust me,
Yeah.
people, it's Connie can deal. But it's something you have to kind of get into, and I think
Yeah.
it's either you will or you won't. But again, it just harkens to the fact that the messaging sometimes with TV shows, whether it's from the 70s or now,
Yeah,
sometimes people aren't getting
it
it.
gets lost. Phew.
It completely lost. But, that's just the way it is, and we're all gonna learn I keep saying we're all gonna learn something from this, but I don't think that's the case.
No.
And I wonder, you know, even now growing up, tons of things, of course, flew right over my head, of course. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
you look back on certain TV shows and you think, "Wow, there was a
Yeah.
message
How
there,"
did I
or
not get that
"Wow."
the first time?
Exactly. Yeah. Or messages where you're like, "Oh, that could have been dealt with better,"
Mhm.
or they really made that too light and fluffy when they
Yeah.
could have made that a little bit harder. And make no mistake, even back like entertainment has its moments when there's light and fluffy and you need it. And there's always that tied in message with lovely music. Remember back in some of these
Yeah.
TV shows, they would do that. There'd always be a message at the end of the day
Yep.
or um after school specials, they would be the same way. I think it's missing now. I think
Yeah.
or maybe it's just
Well,
presented differently.
I don't know if
What do
people
you
are
think?
watching
Presented
TV in the
differently?
same way. Right? I think
Yeah.
people
It's
are
not a group thing,
watching it
is it?
completely differently. So Evelyn, I don't remember if it was Evelyn or Abby was watching a TikTok and it had the jingle or the bit of music that goes with I think it's MGM, with the lion. So
Yeah.
that started that music from
Yeah.
when a movie started and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah. The
that just
roar.
made me think of being a kid." Not the roar, it was
Yeah.
the let me see if I can
Oh.
find it.
While you're looking, there was United Artists, opening of a movie, which was always very ominous. It always made me think, "Oh my god, this movie's gonna be scary," but it instantly
Right.
triggers memories. You're right. I think the way we view things compared to now is very different. I find maybe now it's more individualistic, whereas back when we were children, it was more of a group thing. People would go to school and talk about something they saw, or go to the office. It was the cultural impact of TV shows or movies was more concentrated because there wasn't as much variety.
This one.
This one. Da, da, da.
Do you know what
Oh, yeah. Da,
da 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 da, da
da,
da
da, da,
da
da,
da.
da, da, da. Oh, yeah.
That reminded me of being a kid. That's
Me too.
actually 20th, Century Fox.
That's right. It reminds me of like 1930s or 40s or even 50s movies.
Oh,
It
yeah,
just
it's just like
instantly,
being a kid, it was like
yeah,
and I said, "I remember hearing that every" was it Friday or Saturday night when you'd
yeah,
sit down and you'd watch a movie with your family.
yeah,
I don't think people are doing that in the same way because that would come on cable, right?
yeah,
I think that now when you turn on a movie, 1, you can skip the intro,
yeah.
so there's none of the beginning part of it, and you just go
Right.
straight into the movie, and I think a lot of people are doing that,
I agree.
and a lot of people are just picking and choosing what they wanna watch, right?
Jim said something about how when he watches a TV show or a movie, because he's in the industry, and even
Right.
now I find myself doing it, I watch the whole thing. And that
Oh,
includes the
yeah.
beginning and all the ending because I want to acknowledge the credits and the people that actually do
Mm.
the work. And now you're right. Back then you had to watch that whole thing. Now
Yeah.
you could just skip through it. Like, there's even a button that says skip through or whatever. You can just
Yes.
completely
Yeah.
get past that, which I think is a real shame because you're not acknowledging the people
Yeah.
that actually help make it, but that's a different story.
Yes.
You
Well,
know?
I am such a score person. I love movie score and TV score, and a lot of times,
Mhm.
especially when the kids were younger and they'd be watching their shows or there were certain movies that I never saw, but I knew completely by the sound of the music.
Yeah,
I write to score, so I listen to a bunch of different movie scores
yep,
while I'm writing,
yep.
and, um so the beginning of of a movie and the end of the movie always has the best
It's
score.
co
I will watch an entire movie,
Mhm.
um,
Just to hear it.
just to hear that.
Yeah,
Just to hear that. I will watch the whole so David will be like, "Well, just hit skip." And I'm like, "No, I want this whole beginning." I love there's something about that that lead up into the movie. There's something about seeing the and also you get the, what happened
Yep.
in last episode
There's that
if it's a
too.
TV series
Yep.
or whatever, right?
Yep.
But I love seeing all of it. There's
I
something about that.
I think we're lucky too, and when I say our generation, when we've watched movies in the past because of the score, the musical scores. Like, I mean, just a couple of days ago, I went down the this James Bond hole
Mm,
because I was watching and listening to the music, like For Your
mm,
Eyes Only,
yeah,
View to a Kill,
yeah,
Goldeneye, all these songs that and were part or what's there's another one, Paul McCartney and Wings, um, Live and Let Die. It's
yeah.
classic stuff, which just instantly transports you back to that time. Henry Mancini is responsible for some fantastic scores. If you saw, what's that movie with Audrey Hepburn with uh when she goes to Tiffany's?
Oh,
Oh,
Breakfast at
Breakfast
Tiffany's.
in Tiffany's. Yeah, God, there it is.
Yes,
Duh,
yes.
duh.
Why don't you go to Tiffany's for
Right,
breakfast? What is
breakfast.
that
What is that called
called?
again? That's where 55 is starting to creep in, my ladies and gentlemen. Damn. But it all lends itself to and that was an important part, and you're right, I think to skip that, you miss out.
Yeah.
Don't skip out on that
Well,
stuff.
now think of Breakfast at Tiffany's and
Yeah.
how different things would be if it was made today. You have Andy Rooney's
Oh god.
part, right?
Right?
Where he is the caricature of an Asian
Horrific.
person. It is so horrific. It's not even funny. It's not comical. It was meant to be comical,
Mhm.
and it's not at all. Um,
It's the
so
same thing with so many others. I mean, oh my lord, if you go even to the '80s with 16 Candles and Long Duck Dong,
yes.
it is
At
it
least
is
at least it was played by an Asian character or as by an Asian actor, but still they made a caricature of him.
I wonder if he dies a little bit. It's just every time just because of just to be the source of that sort of
Yeah.
humiliation, and even, even like, if Mannequin, when like, the black guy that was in it, who had to play this over the top gay character, and he was
Mhm.
actually Anthony on Designing Women. Like, just these things, there's just so many things that you look back and you cringe. Of
Yeah.
course, representation now is different, and it's a little bit more
Yeah.
aware, and I'm glad for that. It's
Yeah.
not to deny the fact that there weren't we're right back to where we started, which is good.
Mhm.
And that's why we're here, and that's why we talk about these things, the importance of change and what's happened
Yeah.
from our childhood, and teenage years and 20s to now. Uh, we're glad that we can talk about these things. I'm sure for the next generation, I'm very curious to hear
Oh, I'm
what they
sure I
think
mean,
about our
you know what?
'80s movies now,
We
right?
keep on so,
Do they
I know my
cringe?
kids love the '80s movies. They love
They
all
do.
the
Oh,
John
good.
Hughes stuff.
They do? Good.
They love John Hughes. They do, and
Do they hate
I don't
Molly
know.
Ringwald's dress in Pretty in Pink?
Oh,
Because I
I
hate
know
it.
it's just the worst
Awful.
dress possible, but I
Oh.
sit there while I'm watching it, and all I think is John Hughes must have had a problem with parents
Hmm. Yes, yeah.
because in every single movie, the parents were terrible. The
Wait,
parents were they were either
absent?
exactly, they were completely absent
Yeah,
or mentally, if not physically.
yeah,
Um, the abusive way of talking to each other, the whole family, even siblings with
yeah.
each other were completely awful. It made me wonder what John Hughes's family life was like.
But let's think about that a little bit because when you see for example, Weird Science, which
Right.
that movie, you're right how the parents talk to the kids. It was really, really rough, or they were absent and the siblings were awful. But it also showed teenagers of that era. We were an island in itself. That was our world. It's just, they weren't part of that world. They just weren't. And maybe for some families, maybe they were, but for a great deal of us, we really were on our own. We had to discover everything on our own.
Yeah.
We still had authority figures, and they still very much played a part in that.
But there was an independence that
Absolutely. And I think
you don't see now.
he did it in a really over the top way, but I think it did speak more than we think. If you look at it now from that prism, you can see that, yes, that's pretty much the
Yeah.
parties. Remember those party scenes were epic, and the
Yeah.
party scenes back then were epic.
Yeah.
They were so much fun. No
Yeah.
parents,
No. No,
you
and
know,
destroying
destroying
houses.
houses, yeah, which was brutal, which is why I never had a party at my
No,
house.
I know, me too.
I remember going to one party and it was huge. There were hundreds of kids there. And I remember seeing the person that was hosting it, and she was in tears because there were way too many people there. She
Mhm.
couldn't control it. The cops came. It actually made the news. It was
Oh, you're kidding. It made
totally.
the news. Oh
Yeah, it
my
did because they
god.
said hundreds of kids. It was in Midhurst. And
Yeah.
it was oh, I felt so bad for her because it was a great party.
Oh, I'm
But
sure.
and,
If it
but
was
when you're seeing
newsworthy.
I know, but when you're seeing all these people, it was brutal.
Yeah.
Like her house, I just felt so bad.
Yeah. That was so I was just gonna say, I wonder if that still happens.
Does it?
At our old house,
Yeah,
the neighbor across the street, her parents were in Florida, and she had a party while her parents were away,
yeah.
and it got out of control. Other people came, and now with the rise of social media, you can say, "Party at blah, blah, blah address,"
Mm,
and 1,000
boom.
people from who knows where are going to end up showing up, and it just takes one person to announce, "Here's the party," and everyone ends up going, right?
Oh,
And,
thank
yeah,
God for our
it
days
was
when it was a note, a map that people would
yes,
draw.
or a store like, you had to phone call people on a
Totally,
landline.
which was again, I'm glad
I
for our
know.
time, and
Yes.
I'm hearing more and more celebrities that are talking about, like, from the '80s that say, "Thank God they weren't able to videotape the stuff we did," and I'm glad
Yeah.
for that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
with that, we will take a pause here because we are continuing our lovely serial about That Was in This. Now, this has honestly been such a joy to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, Also painful a little bit because when you do delve into topics that are really tough, like racism, and I do want to get more into it. I always find myself having to be mindful of what I'm saying because, but I also will add this is from my eyes, and this is also from
Right.
Connie's eyes. This is what we see or what we've learned, and we're not always gonna get everything right. We may get it wrong, and it's of course, you have every bit of an opportunity to tell us if we are not doing it in the way that you think. Please
Yeah.
let us know what you think, that's fine. But again, we see this through our eyes. So
Yes.
you have an opportunity, though, to tell us what you think.
And I have to be mindful too as a white woman
Right.
talking about race. I have to be mindful of
Same
where
with
I'm
me as a
coming I
black
just
man. I have to be
yeah,
too, because
yeah.
I might get, people say, "Well, you don't know enough." Well, okay, fine. I accept that. Tell me
Well,
what I'm
and
missing.
everybody's perspective is going to be a little different because they're talking based on their experience,
That's right.
right? And we don't all share the same experience. Even you can even be in the exact same room, witness the exact same thing, and come out with three different experiences
Absolutely.
from that. You know, so
Right.
so that's
It's
we're coming from our perspective. If you have different perspectives, please do let us know. You
absolutely.
can put your comments at the bottom of this podcast,
Yeah,
wherever it is that you're listening, whether it's Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, Apple Music, YouTube, or wherever it is that you get your podcasts from.
that's right. And we do welcome your opinions. I mean, good or bad, we'd like to hear it. It's it's free speech as long as we can have it. So,
Exactly.
I mean it, and by all means, share what you think. That's the part of that we really respond to as well.
And
So,
thank you so much for
yeah,
listening and
yeah,
share the podcast. Give us a follow.
yeah,
That's what helps us be able to continue doing this is the more people who follow and subscribe,
yeah,
the better,
absolutely.
so we can continue giving you our unsolicited opinions on things. Whether you like it or not.
It makes me laugh is that we already know that we're pretty much banned from going to the States based on what we're saying, so what doesn't matter at this point,
I know.
right?
It's okay. We get to
Anyways,
travel our beautiful country then.
that's right. That's the best. I love
Yes.
you, Con. I will
Well,
talk to you later. Thank you all for listening. I'll talk to you soon.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.